Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing Guanjun in the 15-minute pool in ICC. This is an opponent from Turkey, and he opens with the bird, f4. Okay, interesting opening. I usually play d5, and I see no reason not to in this one. So it's like a Dutch reversed. It'll be a Dutch with an extra tempo for white. Looking at my opponent's stats, he has 17 wins, 7 losses, for a total of 28 games, peak rating of 2070. He's at his peak right now. I like playing g6 and staying flexible. So we'll fianchetto the bishop. And looks like he's going to play it in either classical Dutch style or maybe a Stonewall format with d4 to come, but probably like classical style with the bishop coming out to e2. So the fianchetto is so strong against the Dutch because white has not occupied the center with d4. So you have this unencumbered diagonal to work with a lot of times. Doubly so if they go for the setups with g3 and bishop g2. They can revert to a Stonewall, which carries with it its own set of properties. But it's just a very good idea to fianchetto the dark square bishop in general. Also, they're arranging pawns on dark squares, so like putting it on d6, for instance, you might just be staring at that f pawn in all cases, whereas here, sometimes you'll be looking at the d pawn, but sometimes you won't. Also, even if d4 is played, like you can play c5, and your bishop and pawn will cooperate to undermine that pawn on d4. So I have pretty good results against this. Actually, this is the line that Multicast would always play against me in Bullet. It would play that person or engine or whatever would always play f4 on move 1. And there I was usually doing like a double fianchetto type system. So I would fianchetto both bishops, which I also tend to do from the white side against the Dutch, by the way. Okay, bishop e2. c5 makes a lot of sense here. Knight f6 could be played. Knight h6 is always interesting too, trying to direct the knight to the center. I think I'll just play knight f6. I'll keep it classical for now. Keep it classy, keep it classical. Castles, let's castle ourselves. Yep, d3 makes sense. So now I'll probably be going for c5. The e3 square is a weakness for white that they constantly have to be on guard about. In a lot of Dutch positions, you have to worry about the e-pawn marching up the board. So in this case, like white preparing e4, that seems difficult to do here. I'm just debating between c5 or b6, preparing to fianchetto the bishop. I kind of like b6 too. Because b6, like the bishop will be good on b7 and it'll control e4 from a distance. I think like f5 is not a very attractive square. I could play c5, but I don't really see a compelling reason to play that right now. Yeah, let's just go for the double fianchetto. We'll do it this way. Queen e1 makes perfect sense. So he might be trying to shoot the queen out to h4 and build up steam against the pawn on h7. Let's just continue. e3 is a tender point for white, so we want to bear that in mind. We might be able to attack that pawn. So the knight is coming to c3. I think c5 now is a good idea, because there's this idea of d4 hanging in the air. I can play that at any moment now. Queen h4, yep. So do I play d4 right away, or do I simply develop with knight to c6? I'm not yet concerned about the attack against my king, because a move like knight g5 doesn't even threaten mate on h7. I have my knight guarding it, and it could be easily repelled if I want with h6. So, key question, do I play d4 or do I play knight c6 first? I kind of like the look of d4, in that after e takes d4, c takes d4, I don't see a great square for his knight. I mean, knight b5, just knight c6, defending the d4 pawn. Could play knight d1, but still knight c6, and I feel like my other knight will come to d5, and I might also get in knight b4. I guess they could play d4, knight d1, and refuse to capture on e3, but I'm okay with that. So we'll play d4. It opens the light square bishop too. Looks good. Let's pre-move this capture. not a lot of regular Dutch, or not Dutch, bird players out there who play f4 on move 1. Can't think of any top players who do that regularly. Some people like dabble in this opening. They'll just play it every once in a while, but not that many regular Dutch players, I'd say, or bird players. I keep saying Dutch. Okay, I wonder if his idea is after knight c6 to play f5. If so, I did not see that coming, but it would be interesting. Okay, well, I pretty much have to play knight c6 to guard this pawn. So I wonder, yeah, f5 is coming. Interesting. So now, if I take this pawn, they could take on d4. Moreover, bishop h6 is an idea now. Yep, I did not see this coming. How good is it for white? Remains to be seen. I mean, the position looks kind of fragile for white, like especially with this knight here, but I mean, a6, he can just grab that pawn, so I guess it's fine. And if I take f5, he has a nice choice between bishop h6 and taking on d4. I wish I would have prevented this plan. So if I take f5, let's say he takes on d4. I don't know. It might not be that bad for me. Might not be that good, though, either. It's the truth of it. So take f5. He takes d4 with, let's say, the f knight. I take on d4. He takes with his knight. Let's say I play e6. If bishop g5, then I can play like h6. So I think that's okay. Okay, I'm just going to take it. This looks risky to open the g file, but I don't see any other good responses to f5. And I don't think bishop h6 is going to hurt me too bad. I'm thinking he'll take on d4, in which case I'll swap and then play e6 and solidify that f5 pawn. I think with my bishop like controlling the f3 square, for instance, it's not a simple task for him to get a ton of resources in the attack right away. Also, his queen will be needed to guard a potential knight on d4 and also guard a bishop if it wants to come into h6, which he definitely wants to play, bishop h6, to exchange this good defender. So this is a risky move, no doubt, but I think my defensive resources should be sufficient. Okay, so I was planning on taking on d4 against this move. And yeah, let's do it. So take, knight takes, and then e6 is the plan. I need e6 to fortify the f5 pawn. It'd be nice to, like, say after knight takes d4, it'd be nice to move this knight and attack d4 again, but he just has knight takes f5 in response to, like, any knight jump I can do. So I think this move is necessary. It'd be interesting if there was some crazy idea like rook takes f5 possible. Rook takes f5, e takes f5, knight takes f5, intending queen g5. I bet it falls short, but in the moment it could look tempting for white. If he was able to successfully play bishop g5 or bishop h6 right now, I would not like my position. But yeah, the fact that he needs to like take a timeout to ensure that the queen is not the solitary defender of d4, that makes me think this position's more acceptable. Now, is knight g4 a good move? Knight g4, if we trade queens, queen takes d8, rook f takes d8, I like my position. I'd be attacking d4 twice. So that looks fine. What about knight g4, bishop g5? Because there I can take on d4 check. He takes the c pawn. I take with my queen. That should be okay. King h1. My dark squares are weak around my king. But Is it enough for white? Probably not. Yeah, I think that should be okay. So I want to move the knight and offer a queen trade, and I'm thinking knight g4 is the best way to do it because that's the only knight jump other than knight e4, which is just not an undefended square. That's the only knight jump that cuts the queen off from supporting the knight. So I like it. Let me just check knight g4, bishop g5 again. Bishop takes d4, check, c takes d4, queen takes d4, check, king here. Bishop takes g2 almost works in that position, not quite. And I think it should be fine. I mean, I could play f6 in that resulting position if I wanted. Yeah, there should be enough resources to avoid getting killed on the dark squares. Any other moves that are good? If queen d5 threatening mate on g2, he just has bishop f3 to repel us. So yeah, let's go for this one. Somewhat of a moment of truth for him. I mean, does he want to trade queens or like sacrifice a pawn in a bid for the initiative? His bishop g5 would sack a pawn. So bishop g5, bishop takes d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4, check, king h1. If bishop takes g2, king takes g2, knight e3 check, he can't play bishop takes e3 because I take his queen on h4. But he can move his king instead, so let's say like king back to h1. I would swap queens and then take on f1, but that's not a good position because he has two strong bishops and my king is completely open. So more than likely after bishop g5, bishop takes d4 check, c takes d4, queen takes d4 check, king h1, I'll be playing a move trying to kick his dark square bishop out or maybe like defend my queen so that h3 is not a huge problem. I probably need to kick his dark square bishop. Might be scarier than I thought, this whole line. Queen g5. Yeah, I didn't see that move. I don't know if it's particularly good, but it kind of makes sense. I think he's saying, well, I'm okay with a queen trade, but you have to allow my bishop to come out. That's creative. It's like a creeping move. He's getting just a little bit closer. And I can't move this bishop. It's pinned, so there's no like bishop takes d4 or whatnot. What if I play h6? Just to force his queen somewhere. Try to get him to capture on d8. So h6, I guess he could play queen h5 maybe. I might just trade. What if I trade and then take on d4? We double up his pawns, but maybe that's not the greatest because our dark squares are fairly compromised at that point. If h6, queen h5, how are we shaping up there? Bishop takes d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4, king h1, knight f2 I have. Rook takes f2, queen takes f2. That looks pretty much winning, I think. We're hitting the bishop and threatening queen takes g2. So maybe h6 is good. If h6, queen f4, what's going on? e5, queen takes f5. My knight is hanging. h6, queen f4, I have bishop e5, though. Aha, key move. Skewering the queen to the h-pawn. Okay, so I think it's acceptable to do this. Let's play it. Just trying to get him to take. I want to be the one who gets my rook to the center and furthers my development rather than letting him play bishop g5 after queen takes g5. So if he takes d8, which way will I recapture? Probably with the f rook. So let's pre-move that. He's got a 2-minute time advantage roughly, but I think the position is stabilizing, and I don't feel bad about having 6:40 on my clock. Yeah, I think queen g5 might not have been the best move. Bishop g5 would have been really interesting. I'll see what the computer says about that, because black does grab a pawn with check in that line, but it could be murky with the dark square weaknesses around my king. So we're going down this road. He plays h3. I can take on d4 again, but then the h6 pawn is hanging at the end of this line. Knight e5 or knight f6, which is better? If knight e5, we're kind of pinning this knight because of knight takes d3 behind it, but how do we get at that knight is the problem. So I think I'm going to choose knight f6. Now the knight can move, but we have good squares we can jump to, like d5. If knight b5, I can play a6, because if knight c7, then rook a c8, and his knight is on the verge of being trapped. Hard to say if the pawn is better on h6 or h7. It would have been on h7 had he traded on d8 right away. And it's kind of nice that he can't play bishop g5, but at the same time, this pawn needs defending too. a4, just staking out space on the queen side. I think a6 would be a decent reaction. Knight d5 also, but knight d5, again, he could play a5, and don't think I'm in a huge hurry to play bishop takes d4 because of the weakness of this pawn. Let's play a6. So if a5, we'll play b5, is the point. Nice square to have under control, too, the b5 square. I think next move I'll play rook a c8 and just have my rooks on good files, D and C files. He does have some trouble figuring out what to do with the dark square bishop. Plays knight c2, a voluntary retreat move. So maybe the plan there is to play bishop e3. So perhaps I want to preempt him with knight d5. If knight d5, he has knight e3. Or maybe bishop f3. What about rook a c8, bishop e3, knight d5, bishop f2, knight f4? Attacking e2 and d3. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'll just come here. I think it's nice to x-ray the knight on c2 as well. b6 is weak, so that's why I was looking at bishop e3 for him. But I think knight d5 takes care of business there nicely. I like my chances in a time scramble. Just looking at this guy's stats. Doesn't have a ton of games, but like his 1 minute rating is like 1697. So kind of indicates he might not be the fastest player. Knight e3, okay. So blocking his bishop, but controlling the d5 square. Really want to attack this d3 pawn, but I need my knight like on c5 or something. Could play knight d7, but he might go d4. I could come right back then, though. Wonder if he's also maybe gearing up for g4. So knight d7, g4. Trying to break up my pawns. Because then if f takes g4, he gets knight takes g4 in, and this pawn is weak. If a5 intending bishop a6, then he can play knight c4 and hit that pawn on b6. What do I think about that, though? Because a5, knight c4, knight d5. Bishop f3. Knight d5 would be a normal move here, but that allows trades. I kind of want to keep the tension. We could play h5. I worry that pawn would be weak, though. Bishop f8, again g4. Okay, let's try this move. It does create some weaknesses for sure, but I think it's interesting. Okay, so knight d5, bishop f3. I can play rook b8 then. Creative way to defend. Yeah, let's do that. I think that's okay. So bishop f3, rook b8 idea. If bishop takes d5, I take with my bishop. And I'll be guarding the b6 pawn. It's strange to play rook b8 in response to bishop f3 here, but it defends my bishop, and it indirectly defends the b pawn too. So I'd be preparing bishop a6 with that move. I think it's okay. This knight is strong, restricts his bishop. He can't bring that piece out so easily. Now I think this one. Just take aim at the knight and also the d3 pawn behind it. Will I voluntarily capture on c4? That remains to be seen. Like if he plays, let's say, rook a d1, what am I doing in that case? Maybe I would play b5 even. b5 he can take on a5, and if I take a4, he has knight c6 as a fork. This allows bishop takes here and then knight e3, forking the rook and also the pawn on c4. Don't know that he saw that. Yeah, let's do that. He's in blitz mode already. I think he knows that he screwed up. So he's going to try to flag me or something, or play for time. If I take b2, he takes with his rook. I can't take c3. That does not work. Let's go b5. Just keep pushing here. He can pop the bishop out to g3, but I have e5. I don't know about that, actually. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Okay, let me repeat the position. No, he has bishop c7. Never mind. Okay, we got to play this move. I forgot he has bishop g3. Annoying. Knight d2 now? I guess. So go attack this bishop and also the b3 pawn. Can take on e5 now, though. f4 to block. f4, bishop f2, take b3. Let's do that. I don't want to allow him bishop takes e5 coming up. He has bishop here. I keep missing moves, guys. This is bad. Okay, rook d3. Okay, let's go rook d3. Can bring the bishop into c6, though. Maybe should have captured that bishop. Ugh, this is going to get sharp. Bishop c6, knight takes b3. Time pressure. I'm trying not to fall too far behind on time, but Maybe I should have taken on f3 and then played rook d3 on the previous move. Although then he wins a5. I win c3, b3, and f3 would be under attack. It's murky, but I still like my chances here. Bishop e4. Okay, let's take. Take here. Yeah, so if he takes a5, we take b3. And then we've got this pawn in our sights. Might be up 2 pawns after all's said and done. This pawn is going nowhere. e5 is defended. This is looking good. Rook a6. I think he's trying for bishop f6. f5 maybe? Overall, I don't think this worries us too much. Let's take here. So bishop f6. We can just trade and then play king g7. It's fine. There's also rook e3. Maybe rook e3 is decent. Now let's just take and then play king g7. And then f6 I think is good. Not sure if this rook is well placed on that square. Actually, it could be very hard to defend because king g6 is coming. I mean, if he plays g4 to defend, he's running out of squares. Let's just chase it a little bit. And I'm playing f5 next move. Ooh, yeah, his rook's running out of squares. f5. King up here. Yeah, g3, rook takes g3 check, wins the rook. He resigned. He might have started blitzing too soon. I know the position got sharp and also our time was dwindling, but I think he kind of panicked right around the time that I played this and then got the knight in. It just seemed like there were some suboptimal moves going on. But then again, I missed a couple things too, so we'll go back and have a look at it. So a bird, and I think I went over the opening fairly well. The fianchetto is good against this opening. So we're double fianchettoing. Probably around here is where I can perhaps improve. Maybe I should start with knight c6. Just play this move to begin with. And thereby prepare d4. Because he's not going to play f5. The bishop is not yet opened up. So probably knight c6 is a better move, more accurate. It's a direct developing move, and we can look forward to playing d4 in the coming move or two. So I did this, he took, I took, knight b5, knight c6, yeah, and f5. So the computer doesn't think it's that bad for black, but it was an unpleasant surprise to encounter this. So take on f5. He takes here. I take with my knight. e6, a necessary move. And as I said, if he was simply able to play like bishop h6 or bishop g5 right now, I wouldn't be as thrilled about my position. But it's nice that bishop h6 I can take, and I'm going to win a piece because queen takes h6 runs into queen takes d4. Likewise, at bishop g5, I think just h6 is a good reply. And again, he can't take on h6 for the same reason. So c3, knight g4. The computer likes knight f3 a little bit better. Yeah, that brings the knight into the vicinity of my king, too. So maybe that is more accurate. So instead, c3, knight g4. He plays queen g5. Perhaps a bit fancy. Okay, so I want to see what the engine thinks about this move.
Check.
Bishop g5.
Check.
First impression, it hates it. It says minus 1.6. But it seemed to me like with my dark squares being vulnerable and having sort of a pin going on here, like h3 is kind of a threat, this might be something to examine for him. I was looking at f6, so trying to get this bishop to move. This is a bit hard to calculate. Like, I mean, there's moves like rook f4. I guess that's not good because I can take and attack his rook on b1. f6, bishop takes g4. Here, bishop takes g2 is the best move. Really. King takes g2, and then take on g5. Point being that after queen takes king h8, If this bishop moves, there's rook g8, winning the queen. Okay, got it. But like I said, complicated. I mean, the compensation seems nebulous, but in a 15-minute game, I'm not feeling secure here for black. I'm feeling like I need to calculate a lot to try to get through this forest of complications. So could have changed the course of the game entirely if he had played that move, but he just played queen g5. I played h6. The computer doesn't think much of our shadow boxing. It says just take on g5. Give in to his demands to trade queens on that square.
Check.
And then do this, and then king to g7. And it claims a slight edge. Really? I don't know about that. I mean, this would be an opposite color bishop position. Bishop
Check.
f6, king g6. It must like the fact that my pawn structure is still entirely intact, whereas white's has been compromised. I guess one of us will put a rook on the c file. I mean, I'd love to get a rook to c2 to attack g2, but it's not so simple. Queen g5, we swap queens. I thought this was fine for me. Knight f6. Maybe it's balanced, though. a4, a6, knight back to c2. Looks like he played some good moves. Knight coming to e3. Now the computer claims an edge. a5. Wow, it likes all the moves that we're playing. Knight c4, knight d5, bishop f3. Now rook b8. Oh, so I can play bishop a6 right away, huh? Is that because if takes, I can take with a pawn? Yes, pawn takes. Okay, and then if knight takes b6, his knight gets trapped. Or rook c6, even better. Yeah, and if bishop e3 to support the knight, there's d4, cutting off the bishop from defending. And my bishop helps defend d4 as well. That's a nuance I didn't see. The fact that bishop a6 is possible right away. So I quickly played rook b8. He went bishop d2. He's still maintaining a slim edge. But now bishop e1 looks like a mistake on his next move. Yeah, that allows me to gain an advantage. So rook f2 would have been better. Prophylaxis against the potential bishop takes c4 idea and the weakness of the d-file. So just defending the bishop. And it says the position is level, roughly level. Small edge to white. But here, okay, so I took on c4, but knight f4 also looks very good. Attacking d3, which is the weak point. It's the pawn guarding c4. Knight f4, bishop here, knight takes d3, bishop takes b8, rook takes b8. And despite temporarily being down a point of material, black is looking good because of this threat, and if the knight moves, knight takes b2. I will have a monstrous dark square bishop, too. I think my way is simpler, though, especially in time pressure. Just take and then knight e3. Knight takes c4. I really wish I would have seen bishop g3 coming, though. I should have seen that. It's just like the rook was blocking the bishop a second ago, and now it isn't. So it kind of escaped my attention. And b5 was probably premature. f4 makes sense to shut out this bishop, just take away the potential for bishop g3. But I played b5, he played bishop g3. I was about to play rook b6, but then I noticed that bishop c7 would be embarrassing. So I'm forced to play e5. Or so I thought. The computer thinks knight takes b2 is also possible. Bishop takes b8, rook takes b8. If rook takes b2, there's bishop takes here. And b4 at the end. And it says that it's about equal because black has 3 pawns for the piece with a pretty good pawn structure. Yeah, I mean, with little time, you're mostly just going to be looking at just the direct threat. Bishop takes b8 and how to deal with it. So I played e5. He went b3. Knight d2. I was expecting him to take on e5. So just grab this pawn. Because then I have doubled isolated f-pawns. And he might lose like b3 or something, but it seems like it's okay. Take. If I take b3, he has rook a3, continuing to guard the a-pawn. And now white might even be better. Because if my knight gets stuck on one side of the board, his bishop might show its strength. And also, I've got a lot of weak pawns suddenly. Yeah, so definitely bishop takes e5 should be played. The engine's top line is this. B takes a4, B takes a4. Knight
Check.
takes f3, pawn takes, rook b2. Rook takes f5, probably double. Rook takes a5, and a likely draw. I can
Check.
get perpetual, but it's risky to play on since he's up 2 pawns now. So he took on b5 instead. I played f4. Rook takes b5 directly would have been better, supporting this. Because when I played f4, I overlooked the fact that he can actually just play bishop h4 and hit my rook. Turns out it's still decent for me, rook d3. I was expressing some regret over not having played this, but maybe it's okay. I mean, my knight being on d2 is fairly useful, in fact. For a second, I thought he could go bishop c6, but it seems like this would... Whoops. Knight takes b3 would keep the advantage. Attacking this and preparing to play rook takes c3. So rook d3 was fine. Rook d3, bishop e4, I just took. He took. I took c3, take a5, take b3. Yeah, now it seems to me we're just going to emerge up 2 pawns. Maybe he can put up better defense than this, but... Well, certainly he could put up better defense than this. He got his rook trapped. But after the minor pieces come off, it should just be a win for black. I mean, all those pawns are dropping off for white. Like he loses all 3 of these guys just right in a row. And all I have to give up is my a pawn. Probably he should try bishop c6 and at least anchor the bishop in. And the b pawn is a long-term trump. Like, I won't feel completely secure here until I can eliminate that pawn. As played, though, it's just too many weak pawns. Like I said, I mean, he had a decent amount of time left. I think maybe he could have benefited from spending a bit more time, like right when I played 93. Like, he just started blitzing and was kind of banking on the confusion factor, but it was fairly complex right around here, and I'm sure he could improve on, like, bishop e4, for instance. Yeah, rook takes a5 is also possible, by the way, in this position. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll be back tomorrow with another standard game. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.